Good evening. What I'm about to show you contains powerful pictures, powerful videos, and it is quite simply one of the worst things I have ever seen in my life. And if you're anything like me, you will struggle to put into words your emotions at seeing what I'm about to show you. But I have done my best. Not a single Gazan so-called refugee should ever set foot in Britain. I'd say over my dead body, but I'm convinced that if we do let these Palestinians in, then there will be a lot of dead bodies. Why? Just look at this. Today, Hamas dug up and paraded the coffins carrying the bodies of Jewish babies and their mother. How did these poor, oppressed, lovely Palestinians react? Those barbarians cheered. They celebrated the fact that Hamas murdered Jewish babies. And look at this. They came out to line the streets to watch those coffins go by, celebrating again. Fathers took their own children in their arms to gleefully watch as dead Jewish children were returned to Israel. But they weren't just returned, no. The Sun has reported that Hamas locked the coffins and didn't provide the keys. Israel had to screen those coffins to make sure Hamas hadn't packed them with explosives. All this talk about how Gaza is impoverished and locked off from the outside world. Well, where did Hamas get the resources to make these horrific giant posters? How did they manage to get them printed, to design them, to get them there? And I'll be honest with you, all those Hamas fighters, they seem very well fed, don't they? They don't look like they've been having any trouble whatsoever getting food. As videos emerged of those coffins being paraded through the streets, Jeremy Corbyn, the man that our current Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, tried to get elected not once, but twice, tweeted this: "No more arms to Israel. Stop arming Israel." Nothing about Hamas. Nothing at all. And now 15 Labour MPs have written to Keir Starmer demanding that we let Palestinians seek asylum in Britain. Oh, these poor oppressed people. They face the daily risk of death. They've got no medical supplies. They've got no way out. All right, then. And we've got immigration judges like Hugo Benedict Norton Taylor ruling that Gazans can use the Ukrainian refugee scheme to come to Britain. Just look at this. Just look at this. There's your refugees, are they? I'll just say it. I think the majority of people in Gaza support Hamas. I think the majority of Palestinians support Hamas. I think they support the slaughter of Jews. I think what you just saw there was the next generation of Islamist terrorists. And those Labour MPs, that immigration judge, just look at this picture here, OK? Again, just look at those pictures there, that imagery. Are these poor, desperate Palestinians? They look like Hamas supporters to me, don't they? And I want the Labour MPs and immigration judge, Hugo Benedict Norton Taylor, to tell me right now which one of those monsters they will be moving in to their own homes. So thoughts on my panel this evening: former Conservative MP Anna Firth, we've got Conservative peer Lord Bailey, and ex-Labour Party advisor Matthew Lars. Look, I was deeply, deeply moved by those pictures today and those images today. I'm sure we all were. But the instant reaction for me was no Gazan refugees in Britain. What's your view?
Well, I think the judge, same judge, as got it completely wrong about the age of that Sudanese asylum seeker, has got it wrong again here, because we had a scheme. It's called Homes for Ukraine. It wasn't called Homes for Gazans. It wasn't called Homes for Palestinians. And he has somehow managed to slip into that scheme a family of 6 from Gaza. Completely and utterly wrong. It may be that there should be a debate in Parliament about whether genuine Gazan refugees...
But how do we know? I don't think there's such a thing, Gavin.
No, I know you don't, Patrick, but just because you don't think it doesn't mean that...
But where's the evidence that they are?
But what you're showing us, what you're showing us is truly horrific, but that doesn't represent everybody.
But it's a risk,
Gaza.
and I don't want to take that risk. I don't give a toss whether there's a few of them. I don't want any of them here.
I'm agreeing with you that the only way in which we would bring any Gazan refugees to this country would be if Parliament has debated it and we have decided that that's what we want to do. That's not what the judge said. Got it wrong.
Sure, what do you think? You know, these calls now, there's 15 Labour MPs. There are other MPs from other parties as well, it must be said, who wrote to Keir Starmer saying, no, you know, we've got to, come on, we need more of these Palestinians here. I'm sorry, I see footage out today, and I just think, no.
Look, there's two things to say. Keir Starmer's now realising that opposition is one thing and government's another, because this is absolutely not where he said he is, and he's going to have to face down his own MPs. If you're going to have Gazans here, then there will have to be a debate in Parliament. What's shocking and what's problematic is, again, is the interpretation of the law. The scheme is literally called for Ukrainians. And again, I think the judges put the whole legal system at risk by making decisions like this, because an ordinary person will say, well, hold on, that isn't a loophole. You've just gone completely round the words. Now, technically, there may be a loophole, but the point is, it's not in the spirit of the rules. It's culturally, it seems quite crass to me. And again, the legal system runs the risk of the political pendulum swinging so hard the other way that we lose balance, and then the public demand that politicians go after them.
Yeah, I think today the illusion died. It's something that I've never bought into, by the way, but today, for me, the total illusion died. That the Palestinian people, the people in Gaza, are this brutally oppressed group of people who hate Hamas and who are being forced to live under them. Well, I tell you what, how many tens of thousands turned out on the streets today, Matthew, to wave and cheer at the bodies of Israeli babies in their coffins? I'm sorry, I think they support Hamas, don't they?
Well, I think that they're incredibly distressing scenes, and clearly there is significant support for the Hamas regime that we saw by people turning up and behaving as appallingly as they did. It's interesting that the UN has said they think that Hamas has broken international law. I know that Israel is critical of the UN a lot of the time, may have justification, may not, but at least today the UN's been absolutely clear on that. I mean, some people would say, obviously, there have been very significant civilian casualties amongst the Gazan people. Some would say that if, you know, a bit like, you know, when we took retaliation against people in Northern Ireland and you kind of pushed people into the arms of the terrorists, that's an argument some would make. I'm not sure I totally buy into it, but it's an argument that some would make because of the level of civilian casualties you've seen. I think in terms of this letter, it is, I have to tell you, it's the usual suspects of, I mean, some of them aren't currently, I mean, Jeremy Corbyn obviously out of the Labour Party. Some of them are the people on the far left, and some of them are currently not suspended from Labour MP. So it won't be a change of Labour policy. There won't be Gazan refugees coming here.
Because Jeremy Corbyn, yeah, absolutely, no longer a member of the Labour Party. However, Keir Starmer did try to get him elected not once but twice. And the names on that list, a lot of them are members of the Labour Party. Yep. What does that say to you?
Well, Starmer is losing control of this group of backbenchers. Particularly interesting to me is that 2 of the names on this letter were 2 MPs that lost the whip over the benefit cap vote. Richard Bergen and I think Ian Byrne is the other one. They've just got the whip back 2 days ago, and already they're questioning Starmer's authority again. So he completely is losing his grip, and he, you know, he's trying to sort of tread this thin line on Gaza because he doesn't want to upset one side, he doesn't want to accept the other. This is the same sort of tactics that they employed in the House of Commons when they persuaded the Speaker, remember, to rig the votes because they didn't want a big rebellion.
What do you make of what we've seen with that letter?
I think the first thing, these 2 MPs he needs not worry about. What he needs to worry about is if the 2 MPs becomes 15, they become 20, becomes 25. These 2 are obviously, you know, they're off in the corner.
Yeah.
What's more important, the first thing to say is there's pain on both sides of this conflict. And our discourse publicly has always accused Israel of something. Actually, I think the conversation needs to be much more even-handed. Okay. And those pictures you've shown that there is pain here, and it's teaching your children to hate is problematic because it doesn't.
I just think as well the other aspect to it is how on earth do we expect our Jewish community, who are already massively under the cosh in this country, to feel if we start taking so-called refugees from how we look at our asylum system and we know it's broken. We talk about it all the time, don't we? Especially on the show, we know it's broken. We know that there's a problem there. We know that we're not vetting people as it is. How can we have any faith that those people that we would take conceively from Gaza are not Hamas supporters?
We don't need to take refugees if you look at the refugee system as it is, because the surrounding area, the surrounding countries are all safe places to be, so they shouldn't need to come to Europe.
Look, I'm going to just break away from this now. We've had quite a lengthy discussion about all of that.